Good evening, parents, and welcome once again to our Back to School series. A few weeks back, we had gathered to talk about the health and safety of your little ones when they get back to school. And today, we're back with yet another session and a completely new format. Over the next 45 minutes to an hour, we'll be talking, discussing, and answering questions you may have around your child's smooth and happy transition from home to school in a never before live question and answer format. The session will address questions around the transitioning of your child from a learning perspective and also talk about the uncertainties that the child or parent may face during the process. Without wasting much time, I would like to introduce our panel. First up, we have with us Arshleen Kalra. Arshleen heads academics and service delivery at KLAY. With over 18 years of experience in training and education across the globe, Arshleen has led large scale operations, training functions, programs, and projects for corporates, schools, and universities. Joining Arshleen is Madhav Menon, KLAY Dad and co-founder of Newscom Private Limited. Madhav is a very involved father to an adorable 4-year-old boy, Vedant. Vedant has been with KLAY since the age of 9 months and is currently enrolled in KLAY's Care at Home program. He will soon transition to our physical classrooms once we reopen in Bangalore. We also have with us Shreya Pranit, mom of a 14-month-old and a senior designer with us at KLAY. Shreya is a first time mom, and like many of you, would be looking to put her child in school for the very first time. I'm sure she has many questions as well. Join me in welcoming our panel, and I would now like to hand the session over to Ashley. Over to you, Ashley.
Thank you, Divya, for the introductions. Good evening, everyone. Hello, Shreya. Hi, Madhav. Thank you for joining us today. I'd start by saying that last 19 months have been very eventful for all of us. We had to reimagine, redefine our ways of working, be it as parents, as educators, and even as children. While we are talking about children, they had to deal with many changes with respect to their routine, being in a solitary environment, maybe going through a structured, unstructured, or even no formal learning, no friends, no physical play, and the list is endless. Now that we are preparing to open our schools, we are actually going to expose our children to a very different and opposite environment which they have experienced in past 19 months. So I'm sure as parents, we will have many concerns how we are going to transition our child from home environment to school environment. There will be concerns regarding health and safety, their learning, their emotional well-being, and the list could be long. So before we move on to the exact format of Q&A with you, Madhav and Shreya, I'd just like to summarize the points which AK had covered in the last webinar, which was pertaining to health and safety, which we are going to follow, the protocols and the practices we are going to follow at the center. I think it is going to be a good starting point wherein I can quickly summarize those protocols for the benefit of the parents who could not join that session, and then we can take it forward from there. So I request Divya if you could just put up that slide. Thanks, Divya. Health and safety had always been our first priority when it comes to our children, our staff, and even our parents or parent community. I'll quickly take 5 minutes to summarize the critical protocols and practices which we have implemented before reopening the centers, and also we'll continue to practice this till the time there is a change in the environment and till the time we come up with regulations. Let's talk about center and staff safety. The first and the foremost thing which we had ensured is that all our staff members are fully 100% vaccinated. And the centers, before we open the centers, they will be sanitized completely. There will be a COVID specific fumigation followed by weekly sanitization every week. We will continue to follow the processes around cleaning of toys and books and frequently touched and accessed items every 3 hours at our center, and will not allow anybody to enter the center without a temperature check and without masks. This is basically the masks are mandatory for any adult to enter the center. And with respect to child safety, uh, we will try to implement social distancing to the best of our capabilities, given that the children are young. But we'll put in our best efforts that we are able to maintain social distances through staggered activities, staggered meal time, staggered or planned entry and exit protocols, demarcation around the centers, and use of placemats for children. So, with respect to the child safety, and we will continue to encourage and ensure that the children are, and as well as the adults are washing their hand and sanitizing their hand on a frequent basis throughout the day. We urge the parents to send food and water from home, because our kitchen will be closed till further notice. So it is best that you send food and water from home, and ensure that the tiffin boxes and the water bottles are labeled. There is no possibility of exchange of items amongst the children. uh, and with respect to contingency planning, we have a extensive uh, protocol, comprehensive response mechanism in place in case of any emergency, which we have shared with all of you. Please feel free to check the website to refer to the multiple scenarios which may happen and how we are prepared to deal with them. And for our comfort to know that we have each center will have a trained safety officer who is not only trained on first aid but is also trained on meeting these or addressing these response mechanisms. And we are very clear on the fact that if anyone, be it our staff, be it any child who comes up with with symptoms, we will not be able to allow them to the center, and there will only allow them to the center once they bring in a negative RT-PCR test, and this is best for the health and safety of other adults and children at the center. And at any point in time, if our centers are shut down, God forbid, for because of any COVID case which has surfaced, and we had to close down the center, we will follow all the emergency protocols which we have laid in those SOPs. We'll take all the necessary steps towards sanitization and cleanliness and hygiene of the center before we allow and invite all of the children back to the center. But rest ensure, during that period, children can choose to continue their studies through online sessions. Their studies, their learning will not stop at that point in time. So this is just a quick summary of the points. The list is pretty long. I request all of the parents, if they want to know more about the health and safety protocols, please feel free to visit the website or reach out to your center directors. They'll share all the information with you. Now, moving ahead with the session today, I we have Madhav and Shreya with us. So Madhav and Shreya are representing our complete parent community. Shreya is representing the infant and toddlers. Madhav is going to represent probably the K1, K2, and as well as the pre-K children as well. Considering that Madhav is with us since the time Vedant was 9 months old. And Shreya is going to be a new parent with us. Her child is 14 months old, and soon will be sending her child to the daycare. She's going to experience clay culture, clay protocols very soon. But yeah, Madhav is very well familiar with what happens at clay. So, since we are planning to open the centers, Madhav, and I'd love to hear from both of you, and starting from Madhav, what is the kind of concern, or what is the first question which comes to your mind now pertaining to center reopenings?
So, thank you so much, Arshleen, and thank you to the Clay team for having me and Shreya over here. Um, yes, it's nice to know about the health and safety norms that you all have put in place for centers opening. But one of the questions as a parent of of a child who is in K1, as well as I'm sure many of the other parents who are listening and watching this session, what is your approach? What is Clay's approach going to be to transition children from their existing learning environments, learning and care environments, be it whatever they're currently going through in terms of teaching and care at home services, etc. Uh, what is your approach to transition these children from that
Mhm.
environment into an actual physical classroom or school setup?
Sure. I think it's a very critical question, and I'm sure a lot of parents will have this in mind. Madhav, thank you for asking this. I would start by saying that transition is not only relevant for children here, transition is relevant for all the three stakeholders involved currently in this process, be it children, be it teachers, be it parents as well. So we have adopted a 360-degree approach here. Starting from children, there is a complete settling plan which is in place, which we're going to implement. This is aligned for 2 weeks, wherein we'll invite the children to come to the centers for 2 hours every day, and this time is dedicated for them to get familiar with the environment. Reason that they've been in a solitary environment the past 19 months, and now we are actually going to expose them to other children and adults, which would be a new environment for them. So it is very important that during these weeks we engage them meaningfully through activities, through group work, wherein they feel comfortable in interacting with adults as well as the children of their own age group. uh, Definitely the children will take time. I mean, there could be a possibility some of them will settle in early, some of them will take time, but adults in the classroom or at the center will continue to participate and support in the process till the time they are completely settled in. With respect to our teachers, it is a settling in for them as well. They are also going to come back and join after almost 9 months of gap. So we have taken them through an extensive training program, which is aligned with not only about curriculum delivery, curriculum planning, child management, but also dealing with their own emotions as well as the child's emotions, because this is at this stage is very very critical uh, uh, to deal with. And with respect to the parents, we have opened all our channels of communication with the parents, because it is very important for you to have that kind of a confidence on us. We have been sharing the critical informations, processes, practices which we are going to implement and which we have already implemented at the centers for the health and safety of your children, for curriculum delivery of your children. Some of them has already been shared, some of them will you will continue to receive from us. One of the critical activity which we're going to do and is very relevant for the transition of children to physical environment is the CPR activity. You will someone from the curriculum team or the center team will reach out to you soon to get specific information about your child pertaining to their routine the past 19 months, their sleep patterns, their meal patterns, what do they like, what do they not like, what are they scared of, because all of this, and especially the milestones. So all of this information is very relevant, very critical for our teachers to have, so that they are able to support in the transition plan. So this is how we are planning to transit the child from home environment to the physical classrooms. But you, as parents, play a very essential role in motivating a child to come to the school, and letting them know that you are going to meet your friends, you're going to enjoy, you're going to have fun. There's nothing to worry about, so that they feel comfortable in coming back to the school.
That's really nice to hear, Arshleen. Thank you so much for answering that.
So, any question from you, Shreya?
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
my question is around the possibility of a hybrid learning model with Clay. Because,
Mm-hmm.
for instance, I like to go to office, on Tuesday and Thursday, and for in the beginning, it will be really hard for me to leave my kid for all the days in the week. So, is there a possibility that I leave him at Clay for the days that I'm going to office, and he's with me on the other days of the week?
Absolutely, Shreya. I think it's not only you. Every working mom or dad is going through this, because the corporates have given a flexibility, or have fixed up the times to come to the office based upon your convenience. You can very well let the center director know which days you choose to send your child to the center. My only request to you is, please have this discussion well in advance, so that we are able to manage our resources and logistics in a better way. But to answer to your question, absolutely, the flexibility, or a hybrid model, or flexibility of sending your child to school on any of the days is totally available. And also, I'd like to subtly touch upon the point here as well, that while you're sending the child to the center, uh, please have this thing in mind, that while the child is going to the center, the focus is more on their physical, social, and emotional development, which the child has missed in the past 19 months. So this is an opportunity wherein probably the core learning domains like English or maths or others will come later, but physical, social, and emotional learning will come first, which is the key requirement given the current context. But please feel free to get in touch with the center director and fix those days, and we'll take it forward from there. Yeah.
Sure, thank you. That answers my question.
So, Arshleen, I have another question actually.
Mm-hmm.
This is pertaining a little bit more specific to my son. We are currently enrolled with the Teacher at Home service, which is part of your Care at Home program, wherein
Mm-hmm.
the teacher comes in a few days a week and spends a couple of hours
Yeah.
with him, bringing him up to speed in terms of curriculum. What I wanted to understand, and I'm sure many other parents would too also, is how will you align him or other children from their curriculum at home to the curriculum in the classroom
Mm-hmm.
when they actually get into the centers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think very, very important question here, Madhav. And it's not only the teacher at home program children who are going to come back to the school. There are children who are enrolled to many other formats as well, be it online,
Right.
be it a preschool in a box combination, or uh, there could be children who have not actually gone through any structured learning in the past 19 months. So I'd like to respond to this question. I'd like to break up my response into two segments here. One, for the children who have been engaged or enrolled to a program started since the beginning of this academic year, be it clay, be it non-clay, but they have been enrolled to some learning intervention, a structured learning intervention. So for them, the transition to the physical classrooms with respect to curriculum would be more or less same, because what they are following, since they have been enrolled to a program since the beginning, what they are following at in their respective program, be it care, be it learn, be it claytopia, be it any other product or any other program, they will continue to follow the same at the centers as well, because at clay we follow standardized curriculum. We have a standardized curriculum framework, which is been extended to all the learning formats. So if you have started on the time when in the beginning of the academic year, all of them will run at the same pace. So for the children who have been enrolled from June onwards or July onwards, for them there will be a very less of overlapping of the concepts, but the focus will be more on aligning them to the group activities so that they are familiar with the physical setup, physical environment, peer learning. They are exposed to the peer learning, which is going to be a little new for them, and engage them in those activities that they are able to transit from their home environment to the physical classroom environment, following the same lesson plan or syllabus which they had left in that last format. Uh, Now, talking about the children who have either joined in late in the in the last year or have not gone through any structured learning format, it is a little tricky for them, but not difficult. But before I actually talk about how we have planned it, I'd like to sensitize the parents on certain aspects. See, for every child brings in their own individual learning and knowledge, right? Irrespective they have gone through any program or not. Since the brain is developing at a very rapid stage at this is at this in the during the first 5 years of child is learning continuously through a formal or an informal or their own observation, but they learn at their own pace. They learn organically. So while they have missed some they and depending upon the situation, they would have missed some part of the syllabus, because whenever they'll join the school, we will be starting from the point where they should be at this point in time. Say for example, we are towards the end of the second term, they will start from that existing syllabus only, but we will introduce a lot of recaps. We will revisit the concepts to help them bridge the gap. But at the same time, if they have missed a lot in the next 2 months, it is not possible to cover the entire syllabus. But I would say in early years, the focus is not on covering the syllabus. The focus is on building up that foundation, uh, building up that basic concepts, which is very necessary for a child at this age, and not forcing them to do something which they don't want to do. Let them learn organically. But to support to the parents at this point in time, I would request the parents, if the child has missed a lot of the syllabus, we will be sharing learnings till date, which will give you a guidance and a sense on what the child has missed in past few months, and how you can we'll also give in access. Basically, you can actually go to the website, and there are learning resources there, there are activities there which you can use to help your child bridge that gap, learning gap. And also please feel free to reach out to your center directors. There is a whole set of video based learning repository available with us, which you can use for your child at home. But the point is that you'll have to spend time with your child while the child is coming to the school to build up that or bridge up that gap. But again, my sincere request, my humble request to all of the parents out there, do not expose the child to so many activities, so many things. At the same time, considering that they will be able to cover up everything what they have missed in so many months, take this time as an opportunity for your child to develop the basic concepts, and more on the physical, social, and emotional skills which the child has totally missed in the last 2 years, almost 2 years, because these skills are very critical to their growth. If I'm able to, if I feel comfortable around people, if I'm able to talk, I will learn with my peer. I will learn through my teachers gradually, and by the end of it, I mean, there will be other areas, other skills which I will pick up gradually if I am able, if I'm feeling comfortable around them, if I trust them. So that first milestone is very very critical for every child to achieve at this point in time their physical, social, and emotional skills. These are the most critical ones for a child to develop. These skills will help your child to become school ready for next year. We still have 3 months. Child can though, and especially children who have missed the entire year last year, the beginning of the academic year. We still have 3 months to build upon some concepts, the foundational, basic concepts, which they can work on along with the teacher. We will be doing a lot of recaps to support the child to cover up the gaps. There will be certain overlappings as well, but again, the focus will be more physical, social, and emotional development of the child. And I also would like to request the parents that if the child has missed a lot of months in the past year, with the by the end of this academic year, post March, we will be introducing school readiness programs, foundational courses on math and logic and English, which will make your child, which will help further uh, build up on the concepts in the summer, during the summer months. Please be in touch with the center directors, if and you can always enroll your child to those programs as well. But my only request here is to not push the child at this point in time. And I think, Madhav, given your experience with Vedant in the past 19 months, I'd actually request you to add on to this. Maybe I'm sure you would have experienced something which you would like to share with other parents.
So, yes, I mean, we did experience a lot of very different side to him when when the lockdown started and things like that. We realized the difference between what it was when he was going to daycare and this junior toddlers, etc., and uh, what it was when he was at home all the time. We did notice a stark difference, which is the reason why we wanted to enroll him into something that would keep the connect with learning, the connect with social skills, the connect with physical and emotional development continuing through this, which is why I mean, really grateful for the Teacher at Home program that you all started, which really helped. And yes, I understand when you say that you will be bringing in children who are at different stages of learning, different stages of development today. You'll be bringing all of them together. And yeah, even I agree completely with you when you say that what's more important than curriculum and studies, so to say, uh, is the social interaction, the knowing that what and how the child, how he or she needs to interact with others, with other children of his age, his or her age. That is more important at this stage in their life. That is more important to develop, and the learning will obviously pick it up. They will pick it up at any point in time. Like you said, they're continuously learning.
Yeah.
So it is a good approach. I believe that you all are going to focus first on that and then try and bring them up to speed at whatever stage they may be. Try to bring them up to speed so that they're ready for the next academic year. I think that's really good. That's brilliant.
Great. Thanks, Madhav, for adding on to that. Uh, so, coming to you, Shreya, Ark is already 13 months old, and I know that you're planning to send him to the daycare. I'd like to hear from you from an infant perspective. Would you have any concerns or questions in mind?
Yeah, so Arak is actually a COVID baby. He was born during the peak time of the pandemic. So my concerns are mainly around his health and safety. Since he can't yet wear a mask, how are we ensuring that other kids are, and how are we ensuring social distancing between these children?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
second part of this would be that he still can't talk, to communicate.
Yeah.
So if he has any uneasiness or he has any symptoms, how are we addressing those things?
Oh, great. I can totally relate to your worries and anxiety, Shreya. My baby is also a COVID baby. She's 12 months old now. So, yeah, I mean, you have fair concerns, and let me just help you address these concerns. So, starting from an infant perspective, At Clay, it's not only during the COVID or post COVID, we have always given a restricted and a dedicated section to infants. So infants always remain there, they never go out, considering their health and safety. Secondly, anyone who has been allocated a infant program is either is an experienced person in going through the in managing the infants, plus she is also trained on managing the infant. So whosoever is allocated an infant program, be it a teacher or a caregiver, they are highly trained. And coming to the question of social distancing, yes, obviously we are providing them dedicated space. But not only infant, if I have to actually bring in the benchmark which we follow at Clay, we provide 45 square feet per child, which is much higher than the minimum guidelines which are being followed in India, and also many international standards as well. So we are already giving a lot of space to the child when it comes to social distancing. But given the age of the children, they love to crawl, they love to interact with each other, they love to touch each other. We have strategies in place which will be more relevant for children like Vedant, 4 year or 5 year old, who will be more willing to listen and follow. But for toddlers and infants, our endeavor is to introduce social distancing to the best of the capabilities. But yes, from our perspective, we'll ensure that only the dedicated staff is going to the classrooms, no other person is, or no other adult is going to the classroom. And masks is something we will be for children, we are not looking at wearing masks. And obviously for us it is not even relevant 2 years below. But other children up to 5 years old, we are looking at WHO guidelines, which very clearly says that it's not mandatory for a 5 year old, or up to the age of 5 year old, it's not mandatory to wear the mask. But I leave to the discretion of parents. If they feel they want their child to wear a mask and come to the center, and the child is responsible enough to manage the mask on its own, trained at home to manage the mask at home at the center, please feel free to send your child with the mask. However, I'll just like to sensitize everyone here that exchanging of masks is far more detrimental than not wearing a mask in this current context. And from our perspective, we are trying to bring in some normalcy back to the life of our children. And at Clay, we say that it is close to your home environment. So if we have to build up or create that kind of a home environment, we'll rather not have children wear the mask. But definitely, all the adults will be wearing, ensuring that the children are safe. And the last point which you had spoken about is obviously Earth being very small, he may not be able to talk about himself or express himself if he's feeling uneasy. Like I said, that the teachers and the caregivers who are there are trained to manage the children of this age. And at the same time, children at this age, if they are not able to talk, they express themselves through gestures. If they are not feeling okay, they may be, they'll show tantrums, they'll be cranky, they may cry, they may not eat, and they can showcase as many they can express themselves in as many gestures as possible. So we will be looking at those signs. And we do have trained safety officers. Either a safety officer or a trained nurse will always be available at the center. So even if there is a medical emergency, they will be there to help you out, help the child out. And then any point in time, if we feel that we need to get in touch with you, we will not shy away calling you immediately, and take it forward from there. So God forbid nothing of those sorts happen to any child. But just to give you that comfort level and build up that confidence that we have all of those strategies and protocols in place to be followed. And infants, since they cannot talk, they cannot walk, are always given and confined to a dedicated area wherein only those people can enter who have been allocated those programs. Does this answers your question?
Yes, yes, very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
So, Ashleen, I had a question here, which is, I know that when Vedant was had joined initially, and in the infant program and in the junior toddler program, I believe you had a teacher to child ratio of 1:3 that you were following, and I believe there
Mhm.
are similar ratios that you follow for for K1 and pre-K and all those. What is the is there going to be a change in that ratio, or what is the way forward considering the given conditions?
No, Vedant, we will continue with the same ratios. We are not going ahead with the reduced head count. Reason being that one, these are the tried and tested ratios for us. We have been following them for past many years and have worked beautifully for us. Secondly, though one side we are looking at social distancing, but on the other hand, we are also looking at giving enough of attention to the children which they need at this point in time, not in terms of care but also in terms of curriculum delivery. So we are not going to compromise on the ratios this year for sure. We will be working and following the ones which we have been following last year. Yeah.
Okay, okay, that works. Yeah.
I have a question here, Arshleen. So, as parents, we are very anxious about leaving our children at a in a new environment because they are. This is the maximum amount of social interaction they are probably going to have,
Mm.
in the past 19 months. So, are there any tips or prerequisites that you would have for us parents?
I'm sure. Shreya, I think this is going on in everybody's mind, and everybody is anxious. We have come up to a situation that there was a time we used to have 30% or a 40% or new joinees whom we used to settle in the beginning of the year, but this year when we reopen our schools, we are going to settle in every child. So it's going to be a different scenario for all of us, but rest assured, settling in is something which we have been doing for the past 10 years now, Shreya. Over 10 years we have settled almost 14,000 children till date, maybe more than that. So I request you to stay calm. I'll actually like to share our experience, a recent experience of reopening in Hyderabad. We've just reopened our centers in Hyderabad, and we were anticipating a lot of things, to be very honest, because for us also it was for the first time we were opening. And to our surprise, we were able to settle in children just in first week. We did not even have to follow the second week of settling in. And our learning from that experience is, do not have the parents around. See, thanks to the social distancing norms, we did not allow the parents to come inside, but we realized that the parents' anxiety gets transferred to children. Children do get distracted when they see their parents around, right? So when they did not see their parents around, their focus was more on making friends, having fun, doing the activities, exploring so many things which were around, all the colorful things which were around in the center. They wanted to explore, they wanted to touch, they wanted to feel, they wanted to play. So they were very happy. On the contrary, we were thinking that children will be crying, and how we're going to settle in. We were also very anxious, but our experience has been totally different. So I'd say, as a parent, stay calm. I am also a parent. It's difficult, but my request to you is, stay calm and trust the school, trust the teachers, trust your child. Children are more resilient than us. They adapt to change much faster than anyone of us. And again, I'd love to move back to Madhav here, because he had settled in his child a couple of years back, and now what is his thought? Madhav, do you think it is going to be a little different from when Vedant was 9 months old?
Oh, so there is. So let me go back to when he was 9 months old. When we first enrolled him in Clay, of course, separation anxiety is a part and parcel of it for us parents. But and it can really get to us. But I don't think, like you mentioned, what we experienced then, I mean, to be honest, I was one of those obsessed parents who always wanted to know what he was up to. But they, like you said, they actually adapt to change a lot better than what we think. And
Yeah.
us being around sort of gives them an excuse um, to complain, to be cranky, at least at that age, in those early years, early months. Uh, so your approach, I believe, is good. I mean, we should keep ourselves away and just uh, let the child, let our children trust our children. That's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Trust our children that they will find a way.
Yeah.
They will find a
So
way to adapt. They will find a way to settle in themselves.
are
That
you
is
also
then.
going through some anxiety this time as well, Madhav? My next question, because now
So
Vedant is
yeah,
4 years old.
I was just getting there. So now the anxiety is more like, let's get him there as soon as we can. I'm sorry. I'm sure there are a lot of parents who probably
Yeah,
agree with me as well. It's time. I mean, it is
it's
time.
time.
Seriously, it's time. They really need to get out. They need to get social. They need to start interacting and mingling with children of their age, seeing different things than the same set of incremental toys getting added into the room every
Absolutely.
time. So I think it's time to let them explore, and it's so the anxiety is kind of reversed at this point in time. We're really anxious to get them into the centers and get them started to school.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I totally agree with you, Madhav. This time, actually, you both are the classic examples of extreme anxieties. You have an anxiety to send him back to the school, and Shreya, for the first time, is sending her child to the daycare, and she has a different set of anxieties. But to both of you and other parents out there, I'd request you to trust your child first. I mean, your child is going to settle at his own pace, but he or she will settle. They will enjoy. They are looking forward to spend time with their age group, their other children out there. So you'll have to have that kind of a trust on your child, trust on the teacher. But any point in time, if you feel that there is something which you really want to talk about or discuss, I'd like to, since we are already running short of time, we have to take questions from the other parents who have joined us virtually. I'll just quickly wrap up by saying, by setting up certain expectations, which or approaches which the parents should look at doing is one, please help the child to get into the routine of getting up on time, sleeping on time, the routine which is mapped with the school's routine. So if your child is going to come to the center for classes at 9:30 a.m., please ensure that that child has started following that kind of a routine well in advance, that he is well fed, well rested, because a well fed and a well rested child is happy. They are happy to interact with others, they're happy to stay away from you, otherwise they'll be clingy. And they will take a lot of time to get into the routine, because past 19 months, if you look at it, a lot of children have been following erratic routines. If you have if the children are in habit of having meals while they are looking at screen, my humble request, please try to change that, because children will not get an access to screen at our centers. We And then there will be possibilities that initial couple of days the children will not eat, because they are so used to of having the screen time. We will try to bring them on board with other children. We'll work towards that they start having their meal with other children, but at the same time, when they come back, you need to give them the same environment at home. It's not that, at school we are trying to bring them and give them some other environment, and home they are back to the other environment. They will never be able to settle otherwise. um, and CPR is a very critical activity. If as and when the team reaches out to you, please give as much information as you can about your child to the subject matter expert or the curriculum expert who is going to call you for that information, because that is the key information teacher will use to address your child in any of the situations which will happen, and even to help meet his or her learning needs as well. These are the couple of things I think. And then please start having positive conversations with your children. Tell them that they're going to have a lot of fun, they're going to meet new people, they're going to be sleeping also together once the settling in period gets over. They'll be eating together, they're going to have a lot of fun and learning together. Help build that positive disposition towards the school, so that child is encouraged to come back again and again every day. And if you have any concerns you want to share, rather sharing it in front of the child with us, please reach out to the center director separately, or to the curriculum expert whom you want to talk to. We will be happy to help you and solve for it. But let's collectively work towards transitioning our little ones to school. This is very important, and it's a key milestone which we as parents and educators have to achieve collectively, and help our children to bring up to that speed. So I'll open the floor to the questions posted by other parents. And Madhav and Shreya, I'd like you to continue to stay on. Let's see if we all collectively can answer some of these questions. Over
Thank
to
you,
you, Divya.
Arshleen, Madhav, and Shreya. That was a very interesting session, and we're all waiting to send our children back to school. This session is being broadcast live on our YouTube channel, and there are a lot of questions pouring in from our parents. In the interest of time, I'm going to select a few of them and read them out to you. We have a very relevant question from a parent. During the 2 weeks of settling, can parents be inside the center with the child?
Okay. Like I mentioned, no, we are following very stringent social distancing norms. Parents can be around, so that if we need them, we can call them, and they should be able to come back to the center. But we will not be able to allow them to be in the center, be in the classrooms. No adult is allowed at this point in time. And the settling in period is for 2 hours every day, so that they can be around during that time.
There's another one. My child will be attending a play school for the first time. He's 3 years old. What is the approach of attending to such older toddlers?
3-year-old would be a pre-K child for us. Like I said, if the child has not attended any formal intervention, uh, we would recommend you to probably repeat the class or the program which the child has missed. However, pre-K and toddler programs, the focus is more on, I'll say, toddler is the focus is more on engagement. Pre-K, they start getting introduced to few concepts, which is like a pre-writing or pre-reading, and a very few concepts which help them develop a base for a K1 class. But I'll still recommend you that whatever program the child has missed, if the situations would have been normal, we would have suggested your child a senior toddler program starting from 2. If the child has not done any formal intervention in the year of between 2 to 3 years, I would rather suggest you go ahead with a senior toddler program instead of a pre-K program, as per the age criteria, because this will help your child develop that foundational base which the child needs at this point in time. Yeah.
Are vaccinations for the parent mandatory before they enroll the child in the center?
Okay, so we are following the government guidelines here, since Karnataka has mandated it. So for Bangalore region, this is a mandate that both the parents should be fully vaccinated. Wherever this mandate has not come out, we are asking that the parents should have at least one dose. They should be ready with the one dose. They should have taken the one dose, and the rest they can take later. But at least one dose is a mandate from our end for the parents.
There's another question. Is there an emotional support system for children at KLAY, considering they'll be meeting other kids for the first time after like a 2 year gap?
Mhm, mhm. Uh, okay, a very interesting question, and I know that Meghna in the next webinar will be talking a lot about this area of emotional well-being of children and parents as well. But to answer this question, we have been training our teachers to help child at an emotional level. If the child is not comfortable being around the other children, because it is totally understandable that past 19 months the children have been in a solitary environment, we have created so to speak emotional rooms as well, and which basically would mean that if a child is not comfortable in a group setting and he needs some kind of me time for himself or herself, so in the supervision of an adult we will give that kind of a space to a child so that he or she becomes comfortable. And depending upon the situation and the observations, we'll have those conversations with the child and the parents as well as the teachers and take it forward from there, because it may vary from child to child.
A parent is asking whether we'll be sharing a proposed routine for an infant beforehand so that they can start training the child or getting them used to this.
Actually, it's a good approach. We will. I mean, not that it has come to us as a question. To be very honest, we had not planned for it, but I believe that this is a very good approach. We should be able to send out infant routine to the parents, but to be very honest, we can. There is very little we can do with infants because infants follow their own routines. Every child has their own sleep time and meal time, but we can certainly share some guidelines with you.
We have a parent who's currently in Mumbai and part of our learning pod model, and they'll be moving
Mm-hmm.
to Bangalore after a while. So in this case, the teacher changes. The
Mm-hmm.
parent wants to know how we're going to handle the change, new children and a new teacher.
Okay, great. So, first of all, let me assure you that all the teachers are trained on the same curriculum management, class dynamics, and same approaches which they adopt even at a social bubble or a learning pod model to the classroom model. So, with respect to the skill set and the capability of the teacher, it's going to be exactly the same. But each teacher will bring in their own flavors and some methodologies to engage children. So, since and children want to be with children, so and it's actually very good that the child is going to move from a social pod to a classroom environment. The transition is going to be far more easy because the child is already surrounded by children or is along with learning along with other children. So the transition is not going to be very difficult from that perspective. And the teacher who is going to manage the child in the classroom, since she is following the same strategies, it will be easier for the child to engage with the teacher as well. But I think once you are filling up that CPR, do mention these concerns as well, and anything specific which you want the teacher to consider when you're sending your child to the center, so that the teacher can work on her strategies for your child, how she can engage meaningfully your child and also align the child and connect the child with other children. But rest assured, it's not going to be difficult at all.
Actually, we have a lot of children who have gone back to their hometown and have become used to the mother tongue at home. So, how are we going to handle language issues with these children?
Okay, so this is something which keeps coming. This question keeps coming to us time and again, Divya, and I think it's a very fair. And considering that past 19 months or so, a lot of parents have been staying with their grandparents in their hometowns and all, and been speaking the mother tongue at home. But children at this age, even if you're sending them to the centers, for us the first language we speak is English, but our teachers are also multilingual. So wherever possible, if they feel that the child speaks Kannada and they also speak Kannada, and the child is not able to interact in English, they will be communicating with the child in that particular language. But at the same time, children of this age are very smart. I mean, they know how to get their things done. If they are not able to speak that particular language, they express in signs and gestures, which help them interact with the teachers and the other adults and the peer as well. At the same time, we will be working on their language, we'll be working on the sounds, we'll be working on the foundations of reading, uh, with peer interaction, with peer conversations, with talking with children, and following the same pattern or routine of learning and speaking at home. In our experience, we have seen that children are able to pick up the language in 3 to 4 months. So you'll have to be a little patient with your child, but the child will pick up the language. So, not to be worried that if the child is speaking the mother tongue, but again, please mention this in the CPR activity so that we know that the child is not familiar with English. Yeah.
How about children who are very active at home but get socially awkward, or children who are very shy and reserved? How will we deal with the children?
So, again, it will be observed by the teachers, and based upon the child's interest and motivation, we'll introduce them to multiple activities. We have multiple learning centers at centers which are aligned with the obviously multiple intelligences of our curriculum framework and pedagogy, which essentially means that child learns in its own way, and we leverage upon that strength. So if your child is shy, if your child likes solitary play, and it's taking some time to interact and socialize with other children, we will give that space and time to the child to come up to that level that he or she is comfortable enough to interact with other children of this his own age group and the adults around. So it's just a matter of time. Once they see the children interacting, playing, having fun, they also start interacting, but and they'll gradually get there. But this is going to be our approach to introduce them to the things which they like and they are interested in, because at the end of the day we want them to come back every day, and that's only will bring them back to the routine.
We have another relevant question for centers that are opening in December or a month later, or those that are already open. Can a parent start sending their child after 1 or 2 months, and during that time, can they avail of the Learn at Home or the online program?
Um So let me just paraphrase this question. Divya, you're saying that though the centers are opening from 1st of December, but the parent is saying that for the month of December, they'd like to continue with Learn at Home, and after
Yes.
that, they'd like to send the child. Yeah, yeah, totally fine. Like I mentioned that we follow a standardized curriculum in all the programs. So even if the child is going through the Learn at Home program, once the child will come back to the center, will continue with where the child has left. So there will be a continuity of learning, but I would still recommend and urge the parents, because now that we are opening this opportunity, we have this opportunity to help children interact with each other, and no matter how much we try through other programs, physical development, social emotional aspects are still missing. I would still request, possible, send your children early. But if there are any concerns or constraints, feel free to send them from next year. It should be fine. I mean, it's totally fine to move in that fashion.
What about children who are not sleep trained or toilet trained? Is there a process in place for them?
Okay, potty training is a collective responsibility. So we would request you to spend couple of weeks with your child to help them align with their potty routine, and how they're going to communicate to the adults around. And till the time they attain that kind of a level, please send them in potty training pants. Do work out a potty training plan. So we at KLAY, we directly do not involve in potty training. We support the parent in potty training. So once the child is familiar with the concept, we will support you in taking it forward. But my recommendation here is, if the child is yet to get into that zone, please start spending time, start training the child, and once you have attained some level, we will pitch in to support you.
Okay, one more relevant question. Will temperature checks be done for children? And if they have a cold or a cough, will they still be allowed into the center?
So I like I mentioned in the beginning of the HNS summary slide as well. Anyone with the symptom will not be allowed, be it a child or be it an adult, to come to the center. They will only be allowed to come back once they come back with a negative COVID test.
Okay. There's a question regarding the online classes. Now, in case a child does not want to be a part of the in-center programs and wants to continue with the online classes, would there be like a minimum batch size that would be needed to get the online classes started, or will the child be accommodated in another batch?
That's a very separate question from what we're discussing. But we always look at a batch size, not and there are two aspects to it. Why? Because we need to have children in a group to be able to interact, so that the lesson delivery is more effective. There is some kind of an interaction, even if it is an online format. So we look, though the batch size is 12, but we do have batch sizes which are less than 12 as well. It totally depends on the enrollment and availability of the slot at that point in time. And second is obviously the optimization of the teachers. So we have teachers who are trained to deliver these programs. So if a teacher already is available and has a slot available in her batch, then we might as well club the child in that batch, vis-a-vis opening a new batch. Does
We have a
that was the
question on
question,
air.
Divya? I
Sorry.
mean, I
Yes.
believe I've answered because I've just kind of missed the last part.
Yeah.
So that was the question,
Uh,
right?
that was the
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
Okay.
We have a question on air conditioners and whether we'll be using ACs and air purifiers in our centers.
Okay, so wherever possible, and now that we are already kicking winters, we may not be using air conditioners, but wherever possible, we will not use. But wherever needed, we'll have to use. Like for a place like a Chennai, the weather conditions are such that you can't live without air conditioners. So it will totally depend on the region. It will totally depend on the weather condition. But as a protocol, if you're saying as a mandate, no, nowhere we are saying that we will not use the air conditioners, because that will be needed for to be able to provide that kind of an environment to a child. We need to give them a comfortable environment.
A couple of parents have asked this question. Are the teachers trained to identify learning difficulties, speech delay, or autism?
Okay, so at Clay, the teachers do observe the milestones. But if they feel that there is certain kind of a delay, we approach our experts on board. We have counselors and therapists on boards who take this forward from there. But the initial sense on it, if the child is already at the center, we are many instances we are able to recognize and take it forward from there. But if you're asking about that the teachers are trained on managing special needs or children with or gifted children, then I would say no. However, with the experience of training and teaching so many children, I would say the teachers are able to identify some of them, but they do not act upon it because we are not trained on acting upon these. We take it forward and discuss this with the counselors and along with the parents. But my humble request, if the parents are already aware that the child is going through a milestone delay, please discuss this while you're having a CPR discussion, because it totally depends on child to child. Many times we are able to work on classroom strategies which help the child achieve and attain those milestones. And many times we tell the parent that we will have to have a professional help or professional support to be able to take this forward. It will totally depend on the child's situation and what is the kind of milestone the child is delaying.
Ashleen, you mentioned the CPR process a couple of times, and we have a few parents asking exactly what the process is.
Okay, CPR or IPR, it's basically it means child personal record or infant personal record. Whenever we enroll a child, this is not something which we have introduced recently. This has been followed from ages now, but we are giving it far more importance during the current context because. This one document helps us acquire or attain or gain information regarding the child, what the child has been doing in the past 19 months when the child was at home. Say, for example, you say that the child has been having meal while watching screen, and the child, when comes to the center, is not having meals. I, as a teacher, is aware of the fact that why the child is not having meals, then I will work on a different strategy to help the child engage with other children so that gradually he starts interacting with other children and starts having his meals along with the other children. Similarly, a speech delay or some other milestone delay, if we are aware of the fact, we are able to work on the classroom strategies well in advance. Then allergies, though the child, you will be sending food from home, but eventually this information comes handy when we start cooking in our centers. Then what the child likes, what the child dislikes, what gives how we can comfort a child when the child is crying or cranky. Some children like to left to be alone, some children like to be talked about it. Okay, they want to interact with other children, some children want to play with something else. So if we have this kind of an information well in advance, it's easier for us to get the child to routine at the center level. So that's exactly is the purpose and objective of a CPR or an IPR.
Here's an interesting question. We have a parent with a 17-month-old son who's very social and loves playing with children and hugging other children. Now, would that be a concern during these COVID times?
Very tricky question, Divya. See, on one hand, we love to have children hug each other and be with each other. And like I mentioned, to be very honest, it's very difficult. A 17-month is a toddler for us. It's very difficult to isolate children from each other like this. But we'll try to avoid that as much as possible. We'll try to engage your child in some other activity wherein he feels more comfortable. Maybe you can send some soft toy which he likes most and likes to cuddle with. We can use that as a strategy. To be very honest, I don't have a foolproof answer to this, Divya, at this point in time. It basically depends on the time and the situation, but we will try to avoid it as much as possible.
A couple of parents are asking if our centers will be under CCTV surveillance and if parents can watch their child live.
Yes, absolutely. The centers will be under CCTV surveillance. But just that we've started to open our centers. The recording will be available as and when needed. We are taking some time to get this fixed. The live recording, I we may not be able to provide you immediately, but as and when the live access is available, we are trying our efforts best to get it ready in the middle of December or max by December end. As and when the live access is available, we'll let you know, but the recording, local recording is for sure will be available to start with. Given that the centers were closed for so many months, there's a lot which we are working on and to get the centers ready. So the live access is going to take some time, but we'll get back with the dates to you.
Ashleen, we are running out of time, but I'm
Yeah,
going to
it's
ask
already.
one last question. So if a child is going to an online class and the transition from an online class to a physical class, is there a process
Mhm.
around?
Okay, so from an online to actually very relevant question in this context. So from an online to classroom, the transition they will still follow the settling in process, because the transition is more aligned on the physical interaction and bringing them from an online home environment to the physical environment, right? So the transition is more aligned around making them comfortable around people, uh, because when it comes to curriculum, they will be following the same lesson plan what they are following in the online format. That same will get translated or will be implemented at the school level as well. So the only transition needed here is to make them comfortable with the other children and the adults around, for which the settling in plan is already in place. And at the same time, we will be doing a lot of recaps. We will be revisiting the concepts covered so far, so that the transition is comfortable for a child.
Okay, that was the last question. But Ashwin, just to add to that, I mean, there are a lot of other unanswered questions also. So we have posted the links to our website
Mhm.
in case a parent wants to know when a center is opening, as well as the links to our health and safety protocol. So it's posted on the YouTube chat in case a parent wants to take a look at them.
Great, that really helps, Divya. And also the questions which we have not been able to answer, it's already almost 5:15 now, and I'm glad that there are so many questions coming in. But if the questions which we have not been able to answer, Divya, we will create an FAQ and also post it on the website in the next week, so that the questions which are being unanswered, parents can actually access the responses from there. I believe that should help. Okay, great. So I think on this note, I'd like to close the session. Madhav, Shreya, anything from your end before I close the session?
No, Arshleen, I think it was great. Even though we exceeded time, it was it was good to see these questions getting answered. I think a lot of us also had similar questions. And thank you so much for having us here. And looking forward to the centers opening and sending our children there.
Yeah. So are we?
Agreed, Ashleen. It was a great and engaging session. It didn't feel like it's already an hour, and
Yeah,
it,
even I
it
didn't realize
actually
we've already
helps with
passed the hour.
yeah.
So thank you, Shreya. Thank you, Madhav. Thank you, Divya, for moderating the session. Thank you, parents, for joining us. Let's just work together and help our little ones transit smoothly from home environment to school environment. We are looking forward to open the schools soon, and we are looking forward to have our children back. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for joining us. Take care, and stay tuned, because we're going to have another webinar soon on emotional well-being of your children. And keep in touch with your center directors if you need any information pertaining to center reopenings, or you have any doubts. I'm sure all of us are there to support you, and the center directors will take it forward from there. So thank you so much, all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.